When it comes to making cheesecakes, there's so many different flavors and techniques. You can cook them, you can use them raw, and you can literally add whichever ingredients you'd like. In this one, I'm going to run you through one of my favorites, which is a no-bake peanut butter cheesecake. And this recipe uses simple ingredients to create an extremely light and fluffy and super tasty cheesecake. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alright guys, let's start this off by preparing a 23cm or 9-inch springform cake tin, and to do this, lightly spray or rub a small amount of vegetable oil or butter onto the base, to which we can then place over a piece of parchment paper and come through with the springform tin to lock it all in place. Proceed by spraying or rubbing the inside of the tin to help everything stick, and come through again with some trimmed parchment paper pieces, sticking them to the sides. And for this recipe, this does need to be done, otherwise we'll end up with a big mess. Once that's done, we can then pop this aside. Now using a food processor, we're going to add in 266 grams or 9.3 ounces of whole Oreo cookies, including the center cream, along with 75 grams or 2.6 ounces of melted unsalted butter to help this all stick together later in the recipe, and half a teaspoon or 2.5 grams of sea salt flakes to get that mouth-watering effect in our base. We can then go ahead and secure the lid so we don't have Oreos all over our kitchen. Turn this onto the highest setting and obliterate the cookies until they resemble a smooth wet sand, and you most likely will need to scrape down the sides too. Also, I will say that this base can easily be made by hand, and you can also use any of your favourite biscuits or cookies for this base. It doesn't have to be Oreos like I'm using. Anyway, once that's done, we can then switch the machine off, open up the lid, and what we will have achieved is a nice smooth base mixture. With this now, we can tip it into the prepared springform cake tin, and using the back of a spoon, spread it out firmly, pushing the mixture down to create a smooth and firm cheesecake base. With this recipe, there's no need to push the base up the sides of the tin, but if you prefer that, I'll leave some details for you in the description below, along with how to make this whole cake by hand. Anyway, once that's done, place this in the fridge for 10 minutes to firm up. Now to make the cheesecake, add 550 grams or 1.2 pounds of cream cheese into a stand mixer bowl, along with 190 grams or 6.7 ounces of sifted icing sugar. We can then place the bowl into our stand mixer, grabbing the paddle attachment, to which we can then lock in tightly and turn the machine on onto the lowest setting and mix the icing sugar into the cream cheese, just until they have both come together and the cream cheese has slightly softened. Once both ingredients are combined, turn the machine up to a medium speed and continue beating the ingredients together for 1 minute just until everything is really smooth, then switch the machine off. To this now, add in 250 grams or 8.8 ounces of smooth peanut butter, which is going to be the main delicious flavour. Also adding in half a teaspoon or 2.5 milliliters of pure vanilla seeds for a fantastic background note. If you don't have fresh vanilla, simply substitute it for 1 teaspoon or 5 milliliters of vanilla extract or essence. Switch the machine back onto a low speed, and again, beat this for 1 minute to combine the ingredients before we can then turn the machine onto a medium speed and continue beating this for 2 minutes or until extremely smooth and combined. At this stage, we want to concentrate on eliminating any lumps in the cream cheese and make sure that everything is completely incorporated, otherwise we'll end up with little lumps of plain cream cheese throughout our final product. Anyway, we can now switch this off and proceed by pouring in half a cup or 125 milliliters of heavy, thickened or whipping cream, which is going to make this extremely light and fluffy. Then finally, turn the machine onto low for 20 seconds to combine the ingredients before turning it onto a medium speed and beat this one last time for 2 minutes to whip the cream and to allow those flavors to become friends. Once that's all done, remove the paddle and the bowl from the stand mixer, and what we're left with is an extremely light, fluffy and aerated cheesecake mix. Now for the next step, remove the base from the fridge, tip over that delicious peanut butter cheesecake mix, making sure to scrape everything out of the bowl to avoid any wastage, and then using the back of a spoon, spread the mixture all over, creating a consistent layer, making sure to get right over to the sides too. The next step is to give this a light bang on your bench to prevent and eliminate any air pockets that can form, and we can then place this in the fridge from anywhere between 4 hours to overnight to set. This can also be placed in the freezer at this stage for 2.5 hours. Alright, so this is now the following day, and it's time to make our chocolate ganache. To do so, place 150 grams or 5.2 ounces of dark chocolate chips or chunks into a small saucepan, along with 160 milliliters or 2/3 of a cup of heavy, thickened or whipping cream. Place the saucepan over a low heat and whilst mixing frequently, allow the chocolate to melt, which will take roughly 2 minutes. Now that the chocolate has melted and is extremely smooth, we can then turn this off the heat and remove it from the stovetop. We can now remove that set cheesecake out of the fridge and pour over that deliciously smooth chocolate ganache, again making sure to scrape it all out of there to avoid any wastage. Just like we did earlier with the cheesecake, use the back of a spoon to spread this all out evenly, again making sure to cover all of those edges. And what we can do now is place this back into the fridge for an hour and a half or in the freezer for an hour to set that chocolate. Once that's all done, we can then remove it from the fridge or freezer. Now to remove this, gently unlock the spring of the tin and very carefully give it a wiggle to unstick the parchment paper. We can then very gently remove the parchment paper, and I say very gently just because this isn't baked and it's a lot softer than other cheesecakes. As for getting off the bottom tin, again carefully lift up the overhanging paper to which we can then slide it out. As for the paper, it's pretty much the same process as before, but this time carefully lift the cheesecake up and pull back on the parchment paper, peeling it under the base towards us. Okay, so now that that's all done, it's now time to slice this open. Obviously you can slice this as big or as small as you'd like, but with the knife, just run it under some very hot water, drying it off before you make each slice, as this will give us nice and smooth edges. Once that's done, we can then reveal our delicious and smooth no-bake peanut butter cheesecake. The last and final step is to serve this up, not telling anyone we've made it so we can have it all to ourselves, and then for the best part, which is that we can then dig in. So that's it for this no-bake peanut butter cheesecake. This recipe here makes 8 really good sized pieces or 16 really small pieces. And as for storage, we can place it in the fridge in an airtight container for up to 4 days, or you can place it in the freezer in an airtight container for up to 4 months. Also, with the freezing, you don't have to wait for it to defrost. You can literally just bring it straight out and eat it from frozen. It's kind of like an ice cream cheesecake and it tastes absolutely incredible. I really hope you enjoyed this video and I was able to teach you something. If you did, be sure to smash that like button and consider subscribing along with hitting that bell notification next to it so you never miss one I upload. Thanks for watching everyone, stay safe and enjoy.